Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I am the 86. Join Kayla, Ben, and myself as we talk about Flesh and Blood in our new cast, One Resource Floating. Take this time to hit the notification bell, like and subscribe, as hopefully we'll have more content out soon. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy. Hello, guys. Welcome to One Resource Floating. This is a flesh and blood chat regarding how to play the game, and we're going to talk about some nuances in the game. But first, let's talk about what the game is and a little bit of how to get into it. Kayla might have a good explanation for that. You want to take it away, Kayla?
Yeah, so Flesh and Blood is a card game of battles and wits. Two heroes meet on a battlefield, and you are basically trying to level out resources, cards, attack, and defense. So you ultimately bring your opponent to 0 health points, and then you win.
So that is really important, especially if you go out and buy one of these decks. The win condition is making your opponent go to 0 health. It's really helpful to keep track of health with a couple of with pen and paper. There are also a couple of apps out there to get. Futility is really popular if you want to use something on your phone to keep track of yours and opponent's health. Um, but with health and everything, that's not on you. That's on a hero. So Ben, can you tell us about what heroes are?
The hero is card is essentially who you're going to bring to the fight. And when you look at your hero card, whenever you decide to choose one, you will look at the card. On the bottom left, you'll see that they have an intellect value, which is the hand size you'll be able to play with that hero. And on the bottom right, they have a life value. And if you look at the very bottom, they also have a class, which will determine what cards you may have in your deck and the equipment and weapons you may run. And onto equipment and weapons, other than the just deck you'll play and your hero card, you will have equipment and a weapon that you start out with on the battlefield. So when it comes to equipment, you will have a headpiece, a chest piece, leg piece, and arm piece. And then with weapons, you will either have a two-handed or maybe a couple one-handed weapons to get you through the fight.
Gotcha. So we're talking about a hero. We get to play them, and we see all that's going into them. There's a lot of other things going on. Um, Especially what's really helpful is getting like a play mat or something that you can look at and see everything that's on. Kayla, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I have one here, but we'll probably pop one up on screen. But with your playmat, you have different zones that are important for figuring out the layout of the scene. Usually, dead center, you'll have your hero card. To either side, you have slots which weapons can go. If you're running two weapons, you put one in each. If you're running one two-handed weapon, you'd put one of those to either side. Personally, I'm the right side type of person. Um, Underneath the hero is your arsenal zone, which is important towards the end of your turns, and we'll talk about that later. And then to your side, you have 4 slots on both sides. And you can really interchange them with which side you like your deck on, as opposed to where you like your equipment on. So let's say to the left, you have 4 slots. You have head, chest, arms, and legs. On the opposite side, you have deck space, graveyard space, Spanish zone, and then your pitch space, which pitch is very important.
So we're going to look at a card that we can draw from your deck. So the layout of the card is going to have a few things that are very notable. Most cards are going to say exactly what they do and exactly what they are. Cards on the top right have a cost to play them. So you'll see right here the cost on a card. In the top left, typically cards have a value between 1 and 3, 1, 2, or 3. The number of resources in a slot is number of slots filled is how many resources you get when you pitch that card. Pitching is also synonymous with red, yellow, and blue. Red cards get you 1 resource when you pitch them. Yellow cards get you 2 resources when you pitch them, and blue cards get you 3 resources when you pitch them. You'll notice that the red cards and the blue cards aren't necessarily the same, even though they have the same name. The attack may be different or the effects different based on how they come together. The card will have a few other things that will indicate what's going on with it. The attack value, the defense value, and at the bottom center of the card, you will see a couple of different things. There's an action, there's an attack action, there's a class-specific action. So you may see Ranger action, or Warrior action, or Mechanologist action. There are instants, which cost no actions to play. There are attack reactions and defense reactions. Cards in your deck can be played for their cost. Typically, you would play a card first and then pitch for its resource value. This stops you from being able to pitch cards to get them out of your hand. So make sure you have something useful. We have our deck, we have our hero, we have our equipment. So let's start a game and see what we're going to do. The first thing we can do is decide who is going to go first. If you do it by roll-off, which is the standard way, you can choose whether to go first or second as the winner. Next, you have your set hand. You draw up to your intellect. Let's flip this over to Ben to talk about what a model attack might look like.
So when you have your hand of 4 cards, you'll look at your best options, and you do have a few options. You can look at the attacks in your hand. Every hero has some sort of weapon they can utilize. But essentially, once you decide what you're going to do, you will declare an attack, whether that be with your weapon or a card from hand, and then pay its cost with the resources that you pitch a card from hand typically to pay for. So after you declare an attack, your opponent will get a chance to declare a defense for that. So they can essentially discard cards from hand according to their defense value in order to block damage from that card. And they can also use equipment as well. But once they've declared their defense, then it goes back to the attacking player to declare any attack reactions they would like to make to go on top of that, which are specific cards in your deck. After you declare any attack reactions you'd like to play, the defending player gets a chance to declare any defense reactions. And if they declare any defense reactions, it will go back and forth until both players are satisfied with what they see on the board. And then damage resolves, and you can go on. If your attack has a keyword known as go again, the attack chain, as it's called, or combat chain, gets to continue, and the attacking player may play more attacks or other actions. And that chain will go on until a non-attack is played or the player's out of action points, of which you get 1 per turn.
All right. So we went through and I spin up
one
the
action
cards.
point. How do you do multiple things?
Oh, dear.
Okay. I did briefly mention go again as a keyword. The keyword that go again that you'll see on a lot of different cards, when you use your action point to play said card or use said action, if it has go again at its base level, all that means is it's refreshing the action point you spent to get another action point back. So you can continue with more actions throughout your turn.
Perfect. So we go through our turn and we finish it up. So we attack. That's going to be the value in the bottom left. What we can defend with is going to be the value in the bottom right. We've done all that we can do. It's the end of our turn. Kayla, is there anything else we can do before we pass it to the other opponent?
So at the end of your turn, whether you have go again or not, your options are not all gone. The zone beneath your hero, the arsenal zone, is an area in which you could put cards in at the very end of your turn before you draw. And basically, you can set up cards to play on your next turn, or you can set up reactions that you can play from there. But the key thing about Arsenal is that you cannot defend from it unless it is a defense reaction, and you cannot pitch from that zone. So the card you're putting there is going to be something very useful for later, but you have to use it on your turn unless it's a reaction.
So it's going to be really key about setting this up. It's the end of your turn on the first round only. Both players get to draw up to their max intellect. After every round afterwards, you get to draw up to your max intellect if you are the attacking player. What's interesting about that is you can't be caught with your pants down. You have the option to defend first and then attack second. So you'll always be defending with full hand or choosing not to defend, and then you'll have what's left over to attack. Cool. That gives up our brief tutorial about what the game is and how to get into it. Is there anything else that you guys think is important to lay down?
I think it's important to find a hero you vibe with and just have fun. All that flavor.
There are tons of heroes. I think around like 14 different type of hero.
See, there's 15 adult, I believe, heroes.
Well, that's probably, yeah, that would probably leave 14 different types.
Sweet. All right, there's a lot to get into. Hopefully we'll have some more out with you soon, and thanks for joining in. See ya.